Hey, welcome. What is up, everybody? This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by Fanduel, and it is the show where we bring some of the brightest minds in the industry and help you win some money, win some cash games, win some tournaments, and have a little fun while we're at it. Joined by two very, very sharp minds. One, it's TJ. What's up, TJ?
Doing well. We were just talking some basketball before the show. Now we're going to talk some basketball on the show. We got a short little slate, pretty straightforward from a cash game standpoint today. Pull up some meansy core plays, help the people fill the rest of it out. Feeling good about it.
I like it. We got Dre as well, and Dre was providing the pregame soundtrack here. We were pregaming to some DMX. X gonna give it to you. Brought me back like, what is that, 20 years ago? Yeah, 20 years ago or so. I'm feeling hyped, man. I like that.
Yes, definitely, for sure. Got to always come with the good vibes, the good music. So I'm ready for this slate, though. I'm excited about it, and hopefully get some people some good GBP plays that's going to take things down. Is my dog and my fiance having a fight?
I can't hear anything, so let me know who wins between the dog and the fiance. Hopefully the fiance.
I hope so too.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just kind of dive right into it here. I think TJ, if you wouldn't mind giving us an overview, and then going into FanDuel Cash. By the way, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you're checking out the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. They've got a great bonus offer going on. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to 1,000 smackaroons. Terms and conditions do apply. But check that out if you haven't already done so. I imagine a fair amount of the folks here have already done so. TJ, talk to me about this slate.
So the biggest game that we are going to be filling up on today is the Spurs and the Rockets. 2-point spread. Spurs are 2-point dogs at home. High total, close game. And then the other one is Denver and Portland. The thing is, in the Denver and Portland game, while there are a couple injuries, there's nowhere near as many as there are in San Antonio and Houston. So that's why we're going to be loading up there today.
And those teams are trash at defense too. You got injuries, fast pace, bad defense. That sounds nice.
Exactly. Like the negative is it has the potential, just because of how bad both of these teams are, to just be gross, and Greg Popovich is and starts 5 random dudes in the second half and that kind of thing. But still, from a projection standpoint, these are the top spots on the board by a long shot. They're who we're playing tonight in cash games, and that's who we're going to be focusing on. For tournaments, I think there are going to be some very interesting ways to get different today. So I might poke a few of those in there as well when Dre's going here.
That sounds good. You also mentioned pregame, and this is not strictly relevant, but pregame you mentioned you're taking down. What is it? $1 million on for tonight, or what's at the top?
What are we looking at here on FanDuel in that $7 contest or $9 contest?
This is for football, by the way.
Yeah, 100K up top. I don't know if I'll solo ship it, but I'll be getting a good chunk. That's my bold call today. I'm on the Showdown show with cards as well, and I believe Dre is going to be popping on for a parlay bet cameo at the beginning of it as well. So we got that same crew coming right back. I feel like I'm trying to talk fast and like, all right, we got to go, because the last few crunch times I've been on, it's been like 11 game slate, 12 game slate. Tons of news, and right now it's like, we're chilling. We got 3 games. Good. We are so good. So, that is excited about NFL and NBA.
Yeah, that is a good note, though, that if you are interested in some NFL content coming up after this, we've got NFL shows for you, and obviously TJ feels he's got a very good handle on what's going down there as well. So make sure you check that out. But the folks are here for the hooping, TJ. So let's talk about a FanDuel cash build, if you don't mind.
For sure. So if we pull up the lineup preview tag, when we switch over to DraftKings, Steve, I can switch over to the screen share if you want. But in the meantime, we'll click the little arrow on the side, pull up the lineup preview, and get Meansy's core plays in there. And we're looking at Trey Jones, Jalen Green, and Keldon Johnson. I agree with them 100%. They're all cash game locks today. No Devin Vassell, no Jakob Poeltl. It's going to be Trey Jones and Keldon Johnson's team today. So they're going to be each putting up a ton of shots. Trey Jones's assist rate goes way up when Pirtle's off the court. His usage rate goes way up when Vassell's off the court. They're in great spots. We are still waiting for some news in this Houston and San Antonio game, like specifically a starting lineup for San Antonio, since we don't really know how that's going to look, as well as Kevin Porter Jr. is still listed as questionable, as well as one of his backups, Josh Christopher, which isn't a big deal, but that still could be a couple minutes if he ends up being out. So if Porter's out, that makes Jalen Green an even better play than he already is, which I think is one of the reasons we got him locked in as a core play right now, because Green is good on his own, even if Porter plays. But if Porter's out, he becomes even stronger today. So I like that call. And then if we're just pulling it to the guard position in general at point guard, you're going Trey Jones, you're going Jalen Green. And for me, it's either like those are the two guys I want to play at point guard. But if you want to roll with Kevin Porter in that spot, and then if he happens to be out, you can pivot to Jamal Murray, something like that. I am totally okay with that as well, because Porter would be absolutely cash viable and probably the cash game play if he's in. Whereas if he's out, not so much. And so if he's out, obviously you can't play him. And so I think you put Porter in that position for now at the point guard position. And then if he's out, you can pivot to Jamal Murray. I think that's kind of the way I want to look at it. And then in this next spot here, Jalen Green at the shooting guard, we can lock him in at that spot there if we're not playing him at point guard. And you're, to me, looking at Bruce Brown as your secondary spot here. Like I'm looking at Bruce Brown or Paul George. I don't really like, we have Caleb Martin as a good, one of the better RG values right now, even though it's still in the negatives at the shooting guard position. I don't really want to go Caleb Martin. I don't think he's got a very high ceiling. He does have a low floor. All these guys are in for Miami. It's a slow paced game with lots of defense being played. I don't really want to get to Caleb Martin. Paul George, I'd be okay with in that game just because he is Paul George. And then, but I'm looking at the two main spots would be probably Bruce Brown for me. But then if you're paying up George, or if you need to save more salary, Josh Richardson, who's going to be back for San Antonio today. And who knows, we may even see him in the starting lineup. One guy at tournaments I really like that I want to mention before I get away from this position is John Wall, 5,900. Not going to play a ton of minutes. We're only projecting him for 24. And because of that, he's only projected for 24 fantasy points. But the Clippers got a bunch of guys out today, and we've seen John Wall in limited minutes this year, 24, 25, 26 minutes, put up a 40-point fantasy game. And that could definitely be enough on a 3-game slate. So John Wall is a guy I really like for tournaments. And then pivoting over to the small forward position, there's a lot of guys that are small forward, power forward eligible, one of them being Keldon Johnson. You're playing him at one of these spots today. Another one, Marcus Morris. He's in a really good spot. He's a great cash game play today. Doug McDermott is projecting very well at 3,600. I think he's one of those guys that's fine whether he starts or doesn't start, because if he comes off the bench, even if he only plays 22 minutes today, coming off the bench, he's probably going to be putting up a ton of shots. So McDermott is a very good cash game play. I think someone you're probably putting in there. I do like him over the likes of like a Caleb Martin. Zach Collins, if he starts, I think is somebody that you can play in cash games. And then moving over to the power forward position, same thing. It's Keldon, it's Doug McDermott, and Zach Collins is like your main guys here. Marcus Morris as well. But another guy, if you land on that I don't mind whatsoever, is Jabari Smith. He's going to be one of my favorite targets today for cash games and tournaments. And then one guy quick I want to mention that I like quite a bit in tournaments is Terry Eason on a small slate against San Antonio, just a guy with a huge ceiling. It feels weird that we are not going to play Luka Doncic, but I don't think we are. Or sorry, Nikola Jokic.
Oh, okay.
No, I meant Jokic.
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant Jokic.
Yeah.
My apologies. When we have all of this value in a cash game, but I don't really think we are. You can. You're playing one of two players. You're playing Şengün or you're playing Jokic. The thing is if you play Şengün, who has a very high ceiling on this slate against San Antonio, then you can have a Bam Adebayo at a power forward position. You can have a Paul George at a shooting guard or small forward position. It allows you to pay up at those spots. Whereas if you're playing Jokic, you're just going with the totally cheap guys across the board. Both of those routes are totally fine. I think my preference is to go with Şengün and then the balanced route, just because I think Jokic will probably have 60, 55 points tonight. But I think Şengün's probably going to have 45, 50 points tonight. And so with that being said, I think we're going to end up with a higher scoring lineup with Şengün in there.
Okay, good stuff, TJ. Dre, anything that he did not mention? I mean, it's only 3 games, so I know he kind of ran through a lot there, but what are your tournament thoughts and tournament ideas here on FanDuel, Dre?
Well, I'm treating FanDuel and DraftKings almost like the same in a way. Because I'm willing to play anybody on any given site. Pricing doesn't matter on this slate to me. It's more so about who can you get to get different, because everyone's going to be on the popular plays. So, Eason call, that was going to be my sneaky GPP play, because I don't think no one's really going to be on him. He's playing a lot of limited minutes, but he has a very high upside and a very high ceiling. So he's one of my favorite tournament plays for sure. I love the John Wall call too. Only thing that scares me is the minutes. And it's a back-to-back, but he didn't play last night, did he?
Nope.
No, he didn't play last night. So actually, I wouldn't even be worried about him. He's a great play, especially if he's going to play 20 to 25 minutes. So I like John Wall a lot today. Now I really do love him a lot. So these guys, that guy would be those guys. 2 guys would be like main priorities for me to try to get into my lineup to mix it up, because they're going to be. So I know they're going to be low owned for sure, and a lot of people are not going to go to them, and people are not going to also go to this first game. I understand, but we have a lot of situations with it. Paul George is without Kawhi Leonard and a lot of other main supporting cast on that team. So he has to do the scoring. So he should be a priority, in my opinion. And then you also got on the other side, they are without Kyle Lowry, who's resting today. I understand might not be a lot, but you still have the potential, you're going to get point Jimmy Butler out there today. So Jimmy Butler, to me, is an excellent tournament play. I love him a lot. You can even run a mini game set, which is what I'm doing on DK if I can, with Jimmy, Tyler, and running back with Paul George. Like those 3 guys I love today. Bam, I don't mind getting some Bam as well, because I think Bam can have a pretty good game here. But I like other centers like Eason, Eason or Smith, who are point power forward centers as well. So those are guys I'm more higher on than them. As well today. And then I also do like I don't mind Zubac too on the other side. That's a guy you always, I think, have to consider at this point in time with the way he has shown he can play on both sides. Sorry, I thought that was my dog for a second. I was like, why is my dog meowing? But
if your dog starts meowing, that's a concern.
Yes, it is a very big concern. But Zubac, we saw him already get a 2020 game here on the season. And I didn't expect that from him at all in his whole career. And I think it's spot against Miami, even though Bam Adebayo is in Miami plays a little bit slow, but they do have a problem against bigger bigs, I think. So I think that Zubac is fine here in this spot, someone that you definitely could target and get a lot of exposure to. I don't mind going up to Jokic, but Jokic is not a priority for me today, because 11.5 on FanDuel is really expensive. I think you go with a more balanced approach. Bassi also someone else I think we should have a lot of interest in as well on FanDuel and on DK. Well, it's going to be more popular.
What was that?
I said Bassi, someone we should definitely have a lot of someone we should prioritize, I think, a little bit more on FanDuel as well too, with the blocks and steals, and him, even though he's playing limited minutes, he still has a lot of upside on there.
Okay, very good. TJ, you remember the scene in The Matrix where they see the deja vu with the cat, and the cat walks one way and does something, and then that just happened to me, because the cat came on screen and exited this way, and then came back on screen the same way, and it really tripped me out, man.
Yeah, no, Shadow's crazy. He's a menace. He likes getting in there and getting crazy with things. As we swap the screen share over to DraftKings here, I do want to just emphasize that although Jokic made his way into the center position there. He was not our cash game play. We were looking at Şengün there on FanDuel today. So just to not confuse anybody, but yeah, switching over to DraftKings here today, there are some minor differences. If we look at like our kind of core plays here, we still got Trey Jones. We still got Keldon Johnson. I want to put Şengün in here at 5'8". That's just the lock of lock for me today on DraftKings. And then you're doing one of two things. You're playing two centers, but it's either Şengün and Jokic and Bassi. You're playing two of these three players today. You can only play two of them, but you are going to be playing two of them. I don't know why Jeremy Grant's projection is buggy for me there, and that must have been from a couple days ago or something. But you're playing two of these three guys. We're going to kind of decide together who we like best as our last piece when we go through the rest of this here. But in the meantime, we kind of know that our last piece in the utility is going to be either Bassi or Nikola Jokic today. So at the shooting guard position, we got Jalen Green there. That's the guy that I want to go with for sure. However, Tyler Herro playing point guard today. No Kyle Lowry. On DraftKings, this price tag is a lot more appealing than it is on FanDuel. And so I think personally, I want to be looking to play both Jalen Green and Tyler Herro today. This is how I want to sort out my lineup. And I guess, because Tyler Herro is earlier, he'd be in the shooting guard spot and Jalen Green would be in the guard position there. But that's kind of how me personally, I would want to rock it there. Then at the power forward, Jeremy Grant, Jimmy Butler, Jabari Smith, Doug McDermott, all looking great at their price tags here. This is kind of the determining factor of what you want to do in your cash games. Am I playing Jimmy Butler? Do I want to go Jimmy Butler here? Mix some Tyler Herro here, an expensive player, maybe even Paul George. I don't think you want to do that, but just suggesting if somebody did, then you're probably not going to end up with Jokic. You're going to have to play Bassi in that end up position. But if you don't want to play Jimmy Butler, instead you want to just pay all the way down to a Doug McDermott, then all of a sudden we look at the center position here. If we want to play Jokic at the utility, it's doable with only $5,000 or more at each position. So gotcha. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. You're choosing between Jokic and a bunch of value plays like McDermott, or Bassi and a bunch of spend ups at other position. I think my favorite route here is to do the Jokic route. But kind of to each their own in this one.
Is Bassi good? Can we trust this Bassi character?
Bassi is a better point per minute producer than somebody like a Doug McDermott. We're just really not sure about his minutes here because they got Zach Collins. They signed Alize Johnson, who's randomly getting some minutes here, and I actually think is interesting as a GPP dart. The biggest difference is he's $3,600 here on DraftKings, where he's $4,700 on FanDuel. And as you can see, and even in limited minutes, 20 or below, he can well pay off that price tag here. And now even more guys are out in the front court than usual with no Keita Bates Diop and stuff like that. So it's it's tough to me on a 3-game slate just because you can play two centers. I like taking the upside floor combo of Nikola Jokic. However, if you just look at your lineup and say, wow, I like this way better when I can just plug in Charles Bassi, and then I look at the rest of my lineup here and I can play Tyler Herro, I can play Jalen Green, and look at that, I still have $6K for the rest of my lineup spots. I can play Jimmy Butler, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, I think that is the cash game approach that's probably better. I just think for me personally, I like the Jokic side a little bit better.
Okay. All right. That's good stuff, TJ. Dre, you kind of mentioned right off the top that your thoughts on DK would be very similar to FanDuel. Not too concerned about salaries, but anything you want to add here over on DK before we start taking some QQs?
You're muted, Dre.
Sorry. I said Doug McDermott, I think it's a great play. Someone I will be over the field on today in tournaments, especially on the site like especially on a site like DK where the 3-point shot holds more value. So if you start like you project him having 30% right now, get 60. Like I think he should just at that price, he's gonna give you like 25, 26, and that's big on the slate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else you want to add here? We've got 9 minutes until lock.
A couple things I want to just plug in is these Spurs in general, I think, are just incredibly interesting for tournaments. Doug McDermott, Trey Jones, Keldon Johnson, and Charles Bassey are going to be our chalkiest options here. I don't think this is going to. Sorry,
Josh as well.
Yeah, and Josh Richardson likely as well, but it'll still kind of depend on the starting lineup because we are still waiting for that one from them. So, like Zach Collins, no one's going to play him because of how strong the center position is today. Richardson is a strong value with that 3-point bonus on DraftKings. Romeo Langford projecting for 26 minutes at 3.1K. Isaiah Roby only projected for 18 minutes, but at 3.3, if he gets 24, 25, he could just shatter the slate today. And so because he's very interesting, and if I was running 150 lineups today, just in case, I would still include maybe not Gorgui Dieng in my pool simply because he's only center, but Alize Johnson at the power forward position. I think that's interesting for tournaments just because, like we mentioned, this game could get ugly. They just signed him to a 1-year contract this week. He's played 2 games, played 2 minutes in his first, 14 minutes in his second. So if all of a sudden, say that gets bumped from 14 minutes to 20 minutes, he could be a tournament winning player that nobody is going to be playing tonight as well. And then the same thing on this Houston side. We're still waiting for Kevin Porter Jr. news. Terry Eason, very sneaky tournament play, but even a guy like Deshaun Nix, nobody's going to be playing him. And if Kevin Porter Jr. out, he becomes pretty interesting.
Okay, very good. Dre, anything last to add here before we just dive into a couple QQs?
Robert Covington could see more minutes too. That's a deep like 150 type tournament play. And at 3,700 on DK, if he gets a lot of minutes, he can have a field day with some blocks and some steals and just putting up all the stat categories.
Okay. I agree with that, but actually just because Nick Batum isn't picking up any ownership right now at the same price, I think he's a very interesting play as well. He played 37 minutes in his last game that he started. So if he was chalky, I'd say, heck no, don't play Nick Batum. But just because nobody's playing him, that 24-minute projection could end up being 30. And if he plays 30, he could be a great value play.
I'll salute anyone who plays Nick Batum right now. I'll never play that guy again in my life.
if you played him last game, look what you got out of him. 30.5 fantasy points.
Yeah, last week he cost me 100K.
Oh man. That sticks with you. That'll stick with you. All right, guys, let's see if there are any questions. If you've got any questions, it can be about basketball. It can be about football. It can be about life in general. I don't really care. We're going to see if we can make it these 6 minutes until lock. And if we can't, then we'll hang out until the next show starts. Let's get to it.
213 people watching. We got to hit this like button over on YouTube. We're doing better than a Dean show, but we still need the people to show out here and slide their fingers over, click the like button, smash the like button, caress it, flick it, do whatever you enjoy doing to the like button. The like button has your consent and you're free to push it. And so even if you're on your phone, it's sometimes hard to find. You got to click the hide chat button over there and then slide your finger over there and hit the like button. But I know you guys got us here. Get over there and smash it.
That got weirdly sexual, but I do agree with the sentiment, which is this is free content. Hit that thumbs up. Let's dive into the QQs. Fanduel Cash, TJ, Caleb Martin, or Jay Rich?
Projections at this point say Caleb Martin, but I personally like Jay Rich better. If Jay Rich isn't starting, though, what site is that on? Did they mention?
It was Fanduel Cash.
Fanduel? So, yeah, I would go with, as it stands right now, I would go with Josh Richardson. And then if you end up getting word that he doesn't start, you could still make a pivot to Caldwell Pope or Eric Gordon, even if Kevin Porter Jr. is out.
Okay, very good. Mike says FanDuel GPP last piece. Dre, Zach Collins or Isaiah Roby?
Collins.
Very good. DK Cash Achilles says, TJ, you want Jokic Roby or Butler Şengün? You got to have Şengün one way or the other in DK
Butler,
Cash.
yeah, that's Butler Şengün. I don't think you want to play Roby in cash. He's a great tournament play, but not cash play.
Yeah. All right. Gamble FanDuel Cash. Who is a must from the first game? TJ, do you have any cash musts in game one?
FanDuel Cash, there's no musts in the first game, but my priority would be Paul George, number 1, Marcus Morris, number 2.
I like it. Aside says FanDuel Cash 2v2. I don't know who this is. I don't know what this emoji's supposed to be. I need more help, Ant-Man. But aside, I appreciate the effort, but I need more help. Luke says DKGPP, Dre, you want Şengün and Porter or Jamal Murray and Wall?
I'm going to say Jamal Murray and Wall. I'm not as high on Şengün today as everyone else is.
Okay, very good. Raymond says DKGPP, Dre, you want Nurk and Tyler Hero or Jokic and Langford?
Oh, give me the first one. I'm not playing Langford at all. That's another guy on my list.
Okay. Epignosis says, hey, what's the best way to train a new dog? Don't ask me. My dog sucks.
We just finished fostering. I have 2 dogs, and we foster a couple every year. Pay them lots of attention. Anytime they sniff, you put them outside. Anytime there's a sniff whatsoever, you put them outside. And give them a good 3 hours in their kennel a day, even if they don't want it for some training. And anytime there's a sniff, you put them right outside. That's the biggest thing.
Well, yeah, I got the potty training down, but everything else. All right, let's see if we got any more. Do you like PG or Hero better on FanDuel? We'll call this a GPP question.
Dang, that's tough.
I want them both.
Yeah, I was about to say I want them both. If you can get them both, get them both.
If you can't, if you had to take one.
If I had to take one, I'm gonna say PG because he's bought more by himself.
Okay, very good. FanDuel cash question here from Achilles TJ. Bruce Brown and Bam or Jamal Murray and KPJ?
Bruce Brown and Bam.
Okay, very good. Raj says, oh, this is a great question. To win a GPP, Dre, can Butler and Hero together put up what you need?
Yes, sir. I like that a lot.
You will, however, probably need a Clipper in your lineup if you are doing that.
Very
nice.
Yeah.
You run away with Paul George, as I said before.
Yeah.
I kind of want to change my stance earlier. 2 minutes to lock here on FanDuel. I think I would go Harrow over George if you're deciding between the two of them in cash. I had said George earlier, but I actually think like George does project better. So like don't make any drastic changes on my accord because the projections currently have Paul George as 2 points more than Tyler Harrow. But I think just kind of in a 1v1 for me personally, with how Harrow's been playing lately, I think I might like him just a little bit better.
Oh, and that's who he did a superhero emoji. He was talking about Tyler Hero in that question. I don't understand.
So like to be clear, it's a minute before lock. You don't have to freak out. The projections do say Paul George, but in my own lineup, with my own money, I think I'd want to risk it with Harrow.
Okay, very good. Point Hero is very nice. Mark says, hey, what up, TJ, Roth, Drizzy? Appreciate the content. We appreciate you. Thank you guys for watching here. We're coming up on lock. If you've got any last second questions, get them in now. And then after the show, TJ, what time does your show start? Is it like right after this?
Yeah, it's in 15 minutes, I believe.
Okay, so then hang out. You don't have to go anywhere. Let's see here. Raj says Wall and George coming back here if you got Butler and Hero.
Ooh, I love that.
Very nice. I like that as well. With that, gentlemen, we have just hit the lock. So I think we're going to bounce on out of here. Make sure you stick around. We got football content coming up and a few people who feel good about that slate as well. So for TJ, for Dre, for our wonderful production team, always working hard behind the scenes, hit that like button. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.